Hi, everyone, and welcome to our panel, STEM, Exploring the Breadth of University Programs that Support Careers in Emerging and Growth Industries. My name is Kate Bowers, and I have a background in higher education at the University of Toronto, where I worked in student services across leadership and career development, as well as academic skill development. And I'm really excited to be here today to moderate an exciting panel with our wonderful guests. And so just to let you know, the focus of our panel will be on understanding how universities are adapting their programming to the evolving job market, as STEM is a very dynamic and emerging field. And to do that, we'll explore a range of the opportunities that are available to students at top-tier STEM programs, looking also at support for entrepreneurship, emerging industries, and preparing STEM grads for success in the dynamic landscape of these quickly changing professions. So what I'd like to do now is introduce our panelists briefly before we kick off with our questions. So as I say your name, I welcome you just to give us a brief hello. So joining us in our panel today, we have Dr. Deborah Liverman, Executive Director, Career Advising and Professional Development at MIT.
Greetings from Cambridge, Mass. In the United States of America. I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you so much, Deborah. We also have Professor Se-Song Go, the Dean of Admissions at the National University of Singapore.
Hi, it's wonderful to be here, and I look forward to speaking to all of you.
Thank you so much. We also have Tony Monroe, who's the Manager of International Recruitment and Partnerships at the University of Waterloo.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to providing some information and learning from my colleagues as well.
Wonderful, thank you. And lastly, we have Jake Ganymede, International Officer at the Imperial College London.
Good evening, everyone from London. So good to be here today and looking forward to speaking to all of you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much and welcome, everybody. So our panel will be conducted in 3 parts with specific questions for each panelist, open questions for all of our panelists, and some closing advice and remarks to bring it all together for us and kick us off with a little bit of advice for the listeners here today. So then to start off, I have a question for you, Deborah. It's great to have you here joining us from MIT, the world's top university, where you lead MIT's hub to support students in their exploration and preparation for jobs, internships, fellowships, and medical and graduate school. I know you began as a teacher who transitioned into career counseling as a means to help your students identify and accomplish their goals, and that you have a keen interest in supporting STEM students. Could you share a bit about your passion for STEM fields and highlight for our attendees a few of the exciting experiences offered by to students by Career Advising and Professional Development at MIT?
Yes, I am happy to. And again, greetings, everyone, from Cambridge, Massachusetts. Whenever I talk about my passion for STEM, I always like to just share what I majored in as an undergrad. I went to a very small private liberal arts college. I was a sociology major. My plans were to be a teacher. I taught for a few years and then transitioned into what I do now, which is career advising. And in my, I would say, initial interest in career advising, I found an opportunity at MIT. And I would say that that is when I really fell in love with STEM. I loved the field before, spent a lot of time in chemistry, but it wasn't until I got here and I got to hear about all the exciting research that happens and talk to our students and faculty. Did that just cement kind of my love for it? And it's a reason why I've chosen to spend most of my career here. I have the fortune now of running the MIT Career Advising and Professional Development Center. And we help everyone from undergrads all the way to postdocs. And one of the great things about my job is that I get to talk to high school students and their parents as they're thinking about which college to attend. Typically, this is when they're visiting MIT and they're trying to make decisions, whether it be about location, what courses to take or what major to be in, or I would say the economic benefit of a STEM major. Those conversations are always exciting because people share what is important to them in terms of values, and I get to respond and talk about how that can be accomplished via a STEM major. And that is always, I would say, one of my favorite times of the year. I would love to share a little bit about my office. We do a lot of, and a little bit of everything. Whether you are a student who is interested in grad school, medical school, law school, or going after one of our prestigious fellowships, such as the Fulbright or the Rhodes, we support you. And similar to other career centers, we support students as they are looking for full-time jobs. And that often includes everything that leads up to those full-time jobs, whether it be connections with alums, shadowing experiences, what we call internships or micro-internships. We do it all. So I have a staff of, I would say, almost 30 people who make sure that our students are, one, confident in their decisions as they progress through MIT. They are provided with kind of the support that is needed in those experiences, and that they know what they're doing once they graduate. So I feel very lucky. And I always like to just talk a little bit about all the different experiences that MIT has, because it's part of our larger landscape of experiential opportunities. So at MIT, you have the opportunity of doing research with a faculty member. You can work in a design lab, or what we call our maker spaces. You can do some type of social impact work, whether you're working in a hospital or out in the field, or you can do an industry internship. And I would say that our office does a lot with helping students get placed in those industry internships. So I also have the fortunate of talking to employers and to grad students as they're seeking candidates and figuring out like the skills and the experiences that they want from our students. So I'm going to pause there, and I hope to talk more about our programs and some specifics of what we do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Deborah. I think it's really great that you have both that student perspective and employer perspective to be able to bridge the gap and sort of communicate across both worlds. Just as a follow-up to this, I would love to hear from you as well. We know that the diversity of students in STEM is a really critical and important topic. I'm wondering what your experience or research tells you about the future of STEM careers for students who are transitioning into higher education.
Yeah, and I will say rely on some of the research that I've done, but also just my experiences from working with from first year students all the way up to those who are matriculating to grad school. And that is, as you're coming to any STEM program, the first and second year are often the hardest. It's rigorous, and you have to figure out, like, where is my passion? Why am I here? Because that is going to determine kind of if you kind of persist with it and get the support that you need in order to be successful. And what I find that often happens is students, they love something, and the first time that there's any type of failure, they begin to question themselves and wonder if they should stay in the field. And sometimes it is a faculty member or a peer who just gives them that support and that encouragement that they need to persist on. I feel as if you talk to anyone who's a scientist or engineer, they will have a story about some type of failure. And if you could hear them talk about their story, I think that will help you accept that, you know, my first few years may be tough, but it's something that I'm really interested in and something that I want to pursue. I will tell you, just from the other end of helping students get jobs once they graduate, I mean, we all know the benefit of having a STEM degree, and it does make a difference as you're looking at both your first opportunity and your careers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I do think, yeah, echoing what you're saying about that transition time being, you know, a time where peer support and mentorship and, you know, faculty connections can really make a big impact on students, certainly, and their persistence and finding their passion for the, you know, the programs that they want to study. Thank you so much. So moving along, Professor Go, when thinking of diversity in STEM, according to statistics from the United Nations, Singapore is one of the countries with high equality between men and women, particularly when looking at admissions to STEM fields in higher education. About 55% of the undergraduate student population at the Faculty of Science at NUS is comprised of women. And NUS has been leading STEM within Asia and Singapore specifically for many years. And your programs are also a popular destination for international students. So as the Dean of Admissions, We'd love if you could speak to trends that you're seeing in admitting students to STEM programs and what experiential programs or industry partnerships are supporting these students.
Sure. Thanks very much, Kate. I was very happy to talk about this. And let me first just explain a little bit or give some background about our National University of Singapore. Now, Singapore is at the Asia, centering in Asia. The medium of instruction in our university is in English, but we are operating in an Oriental environment. So to a certain extent, what you are seeing is actually an East meets West kind of learning environment. And we are a research-intensive, comprehensive university, taking in more than 7,000 undergraduate students each year. I think Kate has brought in a very interesting observation about the gender diversity in Singapore in terms of STEM education. Now, as a mathematics professor, part of the STEM education in Singapore, I'm very pleased to see that there were actually a lot of students, well-balanced students in gender already in the high school in the STEM education. They are taking topics in mathematics, in physics, chemistry, biology. It's very well balanced, and it is therefore not a surprise that we see an articulation of students from different genders, well balanced again, into the university. Now, there is another aspect about diversity that we have is that we actually have a very diverse international community. Now, because of the programs that we offer, we are able to attract students from different parts of the world coming into Singapore to study our various STEM disciplines. Now, in terms of the trends of the STEM education, what I noticed is that times have really changed. You know, when I was a student, and at that time, when you talk about STEM education, most likely you're looking at the pure sciences, you know, physics, chemistry, biology, and chemistry, and or if let's say engineering is the more traditional topics like electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, and computing was coming up, and so people will study computer science. Now, all these topics up to today, we still provide it to our students. There are students who are passionate about these fundamentals or areas of these different STEM topics. However, the world has changed. There are a lot of other areas of work that requires certain kind of refinement or certain specific areas that students are interested in. So that's why we offer programs like, for example, instead of pure chemistry, we have pharmaceutical science. Instead of just pure computer science, we have business analytics, you know, information security. And in terms of engineering, there's a wide range now. Biomedical engineering, marrying biomedical sciences together with engineering, chemical engineering, you know, mixing chemistry and engineering aspect together. So that is definitely one emerging trend about STEM education. And that actually points towards the direction of interdisciplinary learning, marrying different disciplines together. And of course, STEM education has also taken another step forward. Now, instead of just purely, you know, studying the STEM subjects for the sake of the STEM subjects, and when the student joined the workforce, they were expected to learn how to integrate the fundamentals into the practical situation. Nowadays, experiential learning is very much into the picture. Almost all our majors, they are internship opportunities. Students may spend, you know, either the long holidays or the summer vacations, or even during the term time doing internship modules. And during the internship modules, they will actually take it as part of the curriculum, or some students were so inspired about doing internship, they actually do it more than one internship. Some even do 2 or 3 internships just to have a sense about how can they actually translate the knowledge that they have gained into the working environment. And another aspect of experiential learning, I would say, is the undergraduate research opportunities that we provide to our students. You don't have to go to graduate school to have an experience about doing research. You can do it in NUS, year 2, year 3, and or year 4. So with this internship, what happens here is that in terms of this research experience, it could be basic research, it could be applied research, it could be translational research. And translational research, once again, brought into the aspect about knowledge in action. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think you added so many sort of rich considerations for the future of STEM, you know, the widening of what STEM includes, the increasingly interdisciplinary nature of that, and also the opportunity for students to get research earlier and earlier in their time at university. Thank you so much for that. So Tony, I'd like to bring you in here. You have worked for the University of Waterloo for 30 years in co-op, international recruitment, and partnerships. And we know that strategies for preparing the next generation of learners to follow a STEM pathway in university might include experiential programming in high school or off-campus partnerships, co-ops, and of course support from counselors to really focus on skill building in areas of innovation and creativity. But this past summer, Rosedale Global High School partnered with the University of Waterloo on a 2-week program in artificial intelligence and quantum computing to support students in building new schools and trying out a STEM pathway during high school. With so many opportunities in STEM, can you tell us a bit about how Waterloo is encouraging students' self-exploration and how employers are engaging with Waterloo to create opportunities in STEM as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kate. Yeah, I mean, I think that summer program that Rosedale ran with Waterloo was a great example of, you know, Waterloo really wanting to sort of provide students with that opportunity to get hands-on experience. And as you say, sort of try things out and test new things. I mean, Waterloo from its very beginnings was founded as a university on the principle of experiential education, what we specifically refer to as cooperative education. It's a place where students can bring their passion and their grit and their determination to explore and innovate. And what we often say is that Waterloo graduates are sort of uniquely positioned to rise to the challenge of, you know, the future workplace. We tend to attract students who are particularly deeply curious. They're always engaged, and basically they're bold. You know, they're driven to want to sort of come up with new and new solutions or new innovations that are going to make the world a better place. When it comes to the idea of blending experience with their studies, I think that's what is at the very basis of this idea of student self-exploration. In co-op at Waterloo, students are going to get the opportunity to get anywhere from 4 to 6 distinct 4-month work experiences. And those are provided to students and scheduled in an alternating fashion amongst their academic semesters. And so as they develop and evolve academically, they're also evolving experientially. And that really is at the core of that self-exploration. They're going to get a chance to learn in a classroom setting. And all of the classroom settings also provide lots of hands-on opportunities. But then they're going to go out to work and they're going to get a chance to actually put what they've learned into practice. And then what they learn on the job, they bring back with them to their next academic term, and it enhances the classroom learning. And so that combination of the two, you know, the academic learning, the classroom learning, and the practical experience really do feed off each other, and they enhance each other. Co-op fundamentally provides students those opportunities to try new roles in different companies, different industries, because I think, as has been mentioned by yourself and by the other panelists, you know, this is, I mean, students don't necessarily know when they're 17, 18 years old, what it means to study, even to be an engineer, even for something as you know, sort of what we think of as sort of one-track career. They can go in so many routes, and what you think you're passionate about when you're 18 is nowhere near what you're passionate about when you're 25, let alone 35 or so on. What these co-op work terms do is they provide you a chance to test out different jobs, test out different industries, to help you find your fit, to find your passion, to discover what you love, but also in many cases to discover what you don't like. And I think it was Deborah that made the point of saying, you know, that sometimes there are challenges along the way and there are failures. You students are going to be successful. The types of students that are going to go to our schools are students who have been academically outstanding all the way through. And so they are going to be successful, but that does not mean they're not going to fail along the way too. And, the co-op experience helps them to embrace adaptability, but also embrace challenge, to learn from it, and to find ways to stay positive. And so I think that's the way fundamentally how that Waterloo helps to provide students an opportunity to sort of explore what STEM really means and where their place is in this, as we've said, ever evolving realm that comes under the heading of STEM. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. That really sparked for me in reflecting on my own experience in career advising and academic support with students, the pressure that's put on clarity and certainty. And, whereas I feel like what I'm taking away from some of what you're sharing about these programs is the opportunities for students to really lean into their curiosity and to explore the breadth of STEM, because I think, it can be really challenging, I'm sure, even for yourselves to keep abreast of how all of these programs and industries are changing and sort of the new fields that are emerging. So to think that someone at 17 or 18 could make a really clear, decision about exactly what to pursue, it sounds like a lot of these programs offer opportunities for people to explore in a sort of a safe way, and really get maybe a full understanding of the opportunities that they could pursue in STEM. So thank you for that. So Jake, we'll come over to you now. Opportunities in STEM, I said, they truly seem boundless, and changing and evolving every year. Imperial College London offers a program called STEM Potential, where high school students can attend lectures and workshops starting from grade 10. And there is a STEM Futures program for students of Black heritage and many other STEM enrichment programs offered by ICL. So as a graduate of ICL yourself, and also somebody who has studied STEM, between your personal experience and your professional role engaging with students at the recruitment stage, what do you feel drives students to explore STEM at your institution? What are they excited about, and what are the opportunities that you have for industry partnerships as well?
Sure, yeah, thank you. So Imperial is a really unique place, in my opinion anyway. So we are actually the UK's only university that specializes in teaching science, engineering, medicine. So we are really kind of like specialist. And also because we're so focused and also a specialist, we represent everything that's really exciting about STEM subjects. So this is kind of place where our engineers will be working alongside with doctors, clinicians, and scientists will be kind of rubbing shoulders with designers, and our mathematicians will be collaborating with business experts. So community-wise, we are a little bit smaller compared to many other UK universities, particularly, multi-faculty, but we are deliberately small but very research focused. So we have over 22,000 students studying at Imperial. We do have a very equal split, but we don't want to grow too big. I think what's really exciting about Imperial community is because we do share the kind of same passion for science, and every single student on campus is a scientist at Imperial. We are a global community as well, attracting the best people from around the world to work with us. Particularly our researchers collaborate on a wide range of international projects and partnerships with many institutions across the globe, including MIT on the panel today. As one of the most international universities in the world, 62% of students at Imperial are actually coming outside of the UK. So we have over 140 different nationalities represented on campus. So we're very proud of the students community. And also we want to create that kind of environment where all students feel a sense of belonging and also are really actively involving our community, which will enhance the overall student experience and allow students to really thrive, learning from different perspectives as well. Because we're so kind of like small, medium size, so that we don't really want to be too large. So only 3 faculties focusing on STEM degrees at Imperial. Tons of opportunities, of course, but mainly we're focusing on engineering, natural sciences, which is what Saison has mentioned about the pure science subjects, math, physics, chemistry, biology, and also medicine. So, with over 100 undergraduate degrees courses available students choose from, our departments also share very close links because that kind of high level transdisciplinarity for everyone to learn from each other. So for example, student choices may include modules from outside of subjects as well. That gives the students access to a much bigger pool of research, as well as a greater freedom to follow their own interests. So they can really kind of tailor their education. I always say coming to Imperial is almost like going to ice cream shop. You can pick different flavors of, you know, bit of strawberry, bit of blueberry, mix your own kind of ice cream flavor. And we allow students that kind of freedom to tailor their own education as well. So we don't just want to stay in sort of chemistry, but also how about looking at chemical engineering, which involves lots of design elements, for example. So this is why our degree sort of have been really designed to give students that kind of increasing freedom as the course progresses, is the way it allows students to kind of tailor their education to their own interests and career plans with the support staff, you know, who are leaders in the field. And also, as you probably can tell now, the DNA of the Imperial degree really is all about doing research and studies in order to be useful, to be applied to the real world. So our strategy is built on kind of underpinning that kind of foundations that make Imperial a great academic institution and talented and diverse inspirational people who make up our community. So that's something I'm also pretty proud of, you know, even when I was a student, but also representing Imperial as an institution. You know, we have lots and lots of interests, of course, across the world, but we are looking for that kind of high quality, but also people with ambition and have a focus in the mind to join us as well. So because we are looking to make an impact, and that kind of excellence really kind of broadly found across all disciplines, really, you know, yeah, I hope that helps, but that's kind of a little sort of short summary. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Jake. I really like what you shared, this idea of everyone as a scientist and the way in which that could really help foster a community of inquiry and research and curiosity. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we'll move on to the next part of our panel, where I'll pose a question that is open for anyone who would like to answer. So the first question that we have available to share is, we've talked a lot about experiential learning opportunities with STEM. Within STEM. I'm wondering if maybe we can hear a couple of brief examples of an opportunity within your STEM programs that have been particularly successful in preparing students for the evolving job market. And maybe for this one, Deborah, would you like to kick us off?
Yes, I am happy to start, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples that some of our panelists have already spoken about, which is doing research as an undergraduate. So at MIT, almost 90% of our undergraduate students have some type of research experience. And that is when you work in a lab with a faculty member, with a postdoc, and with a grad student on a research project. And the reason why that is so important is, one, you know, you're able to apply what you're learning outside the classroom. But if you're considering a career in research, maybe going to grad school or being a faculty member one day, it is great preparation for you to see exactly like what your life might be like. And then I'll give the example that we have also talked a little bit about before, which is co-ops and internships. And again, we are a high participation school. Over 70 to 75% of our students will do at least one internship during their time. They usually do 3 or 4, meaning that they take advantage of every summer and also during our free time to go out there, get some experience with companies and confirm what their choices are. The great thing about being a undergrad student is that you have the opportunity to, I would say, do what you want freely, leave a job freely, because you're in those internships for such a short period of time. And so you can get the experience, determine if you like it, determine if you're going to gain additional skills and experiences in it, and then see how that affects what you do after graduation.
Wonderful, thank you. I think that Tony, you also had something to add to this question as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would rather probably echo from what Deborah has said is, I mean, the opportunities that abound for students to sort of try things out. And I mean, when a student does multiple internships, or what we refer to as co-op work terms, we try to emphasize to them the idea that these are progressive experiences, that what they'll do in a first work term, and especially in our case, where in some of our programs, students go out on their first work term while they're still in their first year. So I mean, they are still young. They have very little academic background, but that doesn't mean they can't be productive. The point being that they get experience. Any kind of exposure is good exposure. It doesn't even necessarily have to be in a purely technical sort of a role. I think what we try to emphasize is that it's important to have a good solid base in the sciences, but you also have to have the interpersonal skills, the communication skills, to be able to time management, leadership. There's so many other often called professional skills, non-technical skills. Deborah probably has the language better than I do, but those kinds of skills that are not the purely technical skills that are going to play an important role in how successful somebody is, in terms of evolving their career, but also adapting to the fact that the workplace is ever changing. So I mean, your technical skills in and of themselves aren't the only thing. It's going to be those other experiences and those other skills you develop, and you develop those over a series of experiences, and often it requires being put into different settings in order to really evolve those skills and to develop those skills. If you're always doing just the same thing, you might not get that same opportunity, or it just might take you longer to gain that mix of experience. So I think that's what I would say there.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. The opportunity to have sort of multiple experiences and the opportunity to reflect as a student on those experiences and to kind of compare and contrast the differences and just have a really diverse experience, not just in what you're studying, but in the the employment, the co-op experiences that you have as well. Yeah, Jake, I'm wondering if you would like to add here as well.
I just want to second what Tony said about soft skills. These are so vital for graduates to be more versatile and also well-rounded in the employment. And also, I think with the kind of ever-evolving job markets, one notable example is the emphasis we place on, industry partnerships, entrepreneurship support, practical research experiences. These are great, but also things about, how you can communicate your knowledge and skill set through that kind of professional setting, and how you are coming across competent and also confident in STEM fields as well. So, we are looking for obviously ambitious minds in students with technical skills, hands-on experiences, but also the focus on soft skills is equally important when you come here to study a degree level. We often see applications where students say, we are the best communicators in the classroom, and then when they come here for an interview, they're on mute. That's obviously something we kind of want to verify, but also make sure they are the right fit and also contribute to the community as well as a character. But yeah, just want to say that's a great point.
Mm-hmm. And I think what you've kind of alluded to with that as well as the opportunity for high school students to be thinking about those skills now as well, even if there's maybe not 100% certainty on what they are going to study or where they're going to study, there are skills that they can be developing to be successful in these fields at this time as well.
Totally.
Wonderful. So I'm going to move along to another question on the topic of entrepreneurship. I think that there's like some obvious connections between STEM and entrepreneurship, and it's a really key aspect of the evolving sort of career industry landscape. I'm wondering, can you discuss how your universities are fostering entrepreneurial skills and mindsets, and what resources and support systems your university offers to students who are interested in launching their own STEM-related businesses? And for this one, I'm going to invite Dr. Go if you'd like to share with us.
Sure. So I'll certainly be very glad to do that. And what we are trying to do here is that we do realize that there are many students with different aspirations. And what we want is to actually provide students with a wide range of opportunities for them to enrich their study. So in NUS, actually, for those students who wanted to be an entrepreneur, we have what we call the NUS Overseas Colleges, in short, NOC. Now, what is this arrangement of NUS Overseas Graduate Colleges? Now, in fact, what happens is that for students who are part of our NOC, our NUS Overseas Colleges, the student will actually spend one semester or 1 year doing an internship at a startup company. Now, the key point is a startup company. And these students could choose in more than our 15 entrepreneur hotspots around the world. And while doing an internship at the startup, they actually gain first-hand experience of life as an entrepreneur. At the same time, they will attend some classes, especially in terms of entrepreneurship, in one of our 300 partner universities. And this is actually a program that is very popular, and this has been going on for more than 20 years. In that 20 years, more than 3,800 of students have actually benefited from the program, and through the process, more than 1,000 companies have been founded. So this is the kind of resources we put in place to allow students to pursue their entrepreneurship dream. And where can they do their NUS overseas colleges? There are actually many places that we have, as I already mentioned, more than 15 places all over the world. It could be in North America, you know, Silicon Valley, New York, Toronto, and students who are interested to do it in Europe and Middle East. It could be Paris, Munich, Norway, Stockholm, Israel, China. We have 5 different places where you have NUS overseas colleges: Beijing, Chongqing, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. And in Southeast Asia, you can also do it in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and around the region. So as you can see here, these are actually various opportunities for students to seek, so that this will develop their growth. Because if you are working in a startup company, this really build up the soft skill that some of our panelists have been highlighting. At the same time, get real first-hand experience about how they can translate their ideas, may it be in STEM or maybe even outside STEM, to work with an interdisciplinary team from different disciplines together. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, it sounds like a really incredible opportunity to not just get, you know, the sort of work experience, but to get the real startup experience as well. Thank you so much. I'm wondering, Deborah, would you like to add to this question?
Yes, and I love hearing all that Professor Song talked about. It's great to hear about how you foster kind of that entrepreneurship, I would say, interest and drive when they're undergrads. I'm not going to repeat because we have some similar programs, but there are a few other things that we do. One of the things that we know is that our graduates may or may not go immediately to find their startup right after graduation, but we want to give them the skills that when they're at that point, they know what to do. And so in addition to kind of this experience, we have similar, but we also have a full entrepreneurship center where a student can take a class, and this could be any student. They can join a boot camp, and so instead of a student spending their summer at an internship, they would spend their summer in this boot camp, learning kind of what it takes to run a business, generating their idea, and even get some funding to kind of do a prototype and see what it's like. And then most importantly, we try to connect them to the networks that are out there. So we have a special alumni advisory board where they are advisors to any student who has an idea. And these are people in industry who have, or specialists in the field, or whether they need help with funding, and maybe someone who works for a VC. But we provide this expertise and this advice for students as they are developing and fostering those skills. And whether it is at MIT or if they go off, get a job, and then kind of develop their ideas while they're working, we know that they will be an entrepreneur one day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I just want to be mindful of our time together as a panel. We are getting close to the end of our time, and I want to make sure we have a chance for our last question around advice. But before closing this section, I just want to offer, Tony or Jake, would you like to add anything from your institutions on the availability of sort of support for exploring entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in many ways, when you've got this panel together, it sounds like we have some similar thoughts about this whole thing. And certainly Waterloo, I mean, we're proud of the fact that we're known as Canada's Innovation University. I think in terms of entrepreneurship, certainly we attract a certain type of student, a student who has that mindset of wanting to take their idea and turn it into reality. And so there's that infrastructure in place in terms of workshops, in terms of coaching, mentors, pitch competitions available on campus, opportunities across the spectrum, and not just in STEM, but even in social entrepreneurship. Opportunities for students to try things out, and that includes opportunities for students who maybe don't even understand what entrepreneurship is, or maybe don't necessarily see themselves as being particularly entrepreneurial. The point is, there are these workshops and introductions that are open to all of our students to come, listen, learn, and sometimes discover it in themselves. I think that's the other thing that is vital. And so it's at the core of what Waterloo does. I think the other thing I'll mention is based on our intellectual property law. I mean, our intellectual property standard policy is that any idea that is generated at the University of Waterloo, that belongs 100% to the individual. The university takes no ownership in that. And that's fairly unique. And what that does is that attracts not only students, but also faculty to the university who have ideas and want to commercialize them, recognizing that they can take advantage of all the opportunities that exist at Waterloo, and they don't have to give up any ownership of their intellectual property, that future idea. So I'd leave it at that. Sorry for taking.
No. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think it's been so rich to hear all the different experiences that are available at all of the institutions, and to see some of the similarities as well in terms of, the support for what students, who have interests in STEM are also going to be learning about entrepreneurship or soft skill development. We are getting right down to the last few minutes that we have for our panel. So what I'd love to do is just a quick go around with everyone has about 30 seconds to give us just a little piece of closing advice. What do you think is, something for students who are considering, STEM as their future path? What advice would you give to those students? And maybe Dr. Go, we can start with you.
Okay, I'll just be quick. Now, basically, what happens is that there's a lot of disruption in the world. The world is changing. There's a lot of uncertainty. But to every uncertainty, there is actually an opportunity. So how do you navigate this particular VUCA world going ahead? Now, my advice to the student is that I'm sure for those of you who are here listening to this discussion, you are interested in STEM. There is a subject that you're interested in. There's something that you are good at. My advice to you is that follow your passion, leverage on your aptitude. Passion and attitude are two very important fundamentals that will take you a long way in your journey on STEM. May it be studying in the university or your future employment going forward. So be open to what you learn today and what you will learn in the future. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Jake, would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to keep it quite brief. So first thing I'll probably say, just really scratch the surface, ask yourself what makes you happy and where your happiness comes from. Do you have the curiosity and also enthusiasm for the subject you want to study? Or does that subject actually link with your future career aspiration? Cultivate curiosity, but also foster adaptability as well, because technology is ever changing. So you've got to be able to embrace changes. STEM fields are constantly evolving. Be prepared to adapt to new technologies. AI is taking over, methodologies, discoveries throughout your career, and also develop that kind of problem solving skills, because all subject you're studying is about problem solve. And also you've got to make sure you can practice breaking down complex problems into manageable parts, and also finding innovative solutions as well. Finally, I'll probably say stay inspired and passionate. Find your passion and also commit to it. That's something you got to do.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tony, over to you.
Yeah, how do I follow those two up? Those are hard acts to follow. I think they've really done an outstanding job of emphasizing what is so critical. And I think what I would just add to that is that any experience that you can gain now while you're in high school will benefit you down the road. And when I say experience, I don't necessarily mean technical experience. It can be any kind of experience that gives you an opportunity to sort of gain time management skills, communication skills, leadership skills, anything like that. will benefit you in the long run. And if you can then use those experiences, whatever they might be, to enhance, or be more successful engaging in those things that particularly give you energy. So we've talked about passion, we've talked about fit, engagement. Those are key things. And like I say, any experience you get now is going to help you down the road in whatever career, because like I think it was Jake said, I mean, it's ever changing what we see today. And if you're too hooked on, oh, today's the big thing is this, tomorrow it'll be totally different. So don't get too hooked up on labels or that sort of thing. Be ready to adapt. We'll leave it at that.
Wonderful, thank you. And Deborah, we'll pass to you for your briefest advice for our STEM students.
Yes. And I would like to say that my advice is interesting because I give it to both our first years and our second years who are undecided, and also our seniors who are going off for the competitive fellowships, which is, I would say, perhaps the top honor at MIT. And I tell them the same thing, which is when you're talking to people, one of the things that I'm looking for is I want you to know that you figured out the problem that you're going to solve. You've found out as much information as you could about it. You've gotten some experience so that you can articulate your role in it. And then more importantly, you can talk about the implications of the work. And that's the advice I give to both first years and to seniors, and the advice that I give to your audience.
Wonderful. Yeah, nice to have that evergreen advice for all stages of life and career. So with this, we've reached the end of our time here together, but I would just like to say on behalf of all the attendees of the Global Student Success Forum that we're so grateful for this panel and for all of your time and wisdom here today to tell us about the incredible opportunities that exist at your institution, specifically with support to interest in STEM and the careers that our students may be interested in exploring. And then to all of our attendees, best wishes as you explore the paths ahead of you. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of the sessions here at the forum. Thank you all so much.